Alright, welcome back. This module is Module 1-4. It's all about, gets you into the print reading fundamentals. Make sure you, from the Module 1-2, that you memorized all your fraction decimal equivalents. It's going to make your the rest of your time in this competency much easier. Chapter 4, there's a lot in it. It's a lot of the fundamental skills. It's all about, they call it the alphabet, the lines for print reading. As we start getting in here, go right to page 51. I'm going to kind of go through some examples of visible and all the lines on page 51. As you kind of going through the chapter 4, there's a lot of prints in there. Don't get too alarmed about and all the prints. Those prints are there just to show you where these lines are used and what they depict. So, page 51, the first one is what they call a visible object line. This is just a solid black line. So for example, if I'm going to draw this eraser, in this view, basically what you're going to see, something that looks like this. So I can see this line. I can see all these four edges. It's what you can see. It's what you're going to see on the object. So these solid black lines are what they call visible or object lines. You're going to see a lot of them on the print. So this is, in this view, that's what you can see. So as you look at that and all these prints, so those solid black lines that you're going to see, those are all visible object lines. That's what you can see in that view. So let's move on to hidden lines. Hidden lines are things that you can't see, but they're still there. Let's take a piece of pipe, for example. When you look at the end of a piece of pipe, that's what you see. Now, if we turn that pipe sideways, we cut it in the saw, let's say it's a shorter piece. I'm not an artist, bear with me here. So when you turn that sideways, you would have hidden lines. Right here. Those hidden lines are telling you that that piece is hollow. So as that round turns sideways, so as you take this object, you turn it this way, it's hollow, so there's going to be hidden lines there. Let's take another example. Hidden lines, like I said, a lot of times they confuse students. What it's depicting, there's something there, but you just can't see it in that view. So, we have a simple plate with a hole in it. I took it over to the drill press, I drilled a hole in it. Now, if I looked at it from this view, here's my plate. So what I'm doing is I took it here, I'm rotating in here. There's going to be hidden lines right here. You can see it in this view, but as I turn it to this view, you can't see the hole. So these hidden lines are telling us that there is still a hole there. Hidden lines, like I said, a lot of times they throw students for a loop. But yeah, let's say if I took this over to drill press, drill the hole, you'd be able to see it in this view. When I turned it this way, you would not be able to see that hole visually. So these hidden lines are telling something that you can't see in that view. They're all over on prints. Like I said, as you're going through this unit, if you ever have any questions or you need more explanation, make sure you contact your instructor. Center lines. Center lines are used to depict the centers of arcs and circles. So for example, same plate, I drill a hole in here, and pay attention to these dashes on center lines, hidden lines, phantom lines, because a lot of times the only way you can really determine what line it is the way that it's segmented. So center line, as you notice, the hidden line is all the segments are the same length. The break between the hidden line is the same. Well, center line is a little different. It's a long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash. Let's make that a little longer, short. So for example, center line right here. So those are center lines, showing you the center of that circle. Now, they don't always have to extend all the way out. They could be anywhere, and just about any length. So as you can see, the dashes between here are a little bit different than the hidden line. Get them memorized, because you're going to be tested on this, and as you get through this class, or this competency, you're going to go through a lot of center lines, a lot of hidden lines. It can also show, like that's a circle in that plate. It can also, let's say if I put an arc on this, a radius on here, they can also be used to depict the center of that arc. Something like that. They don't always have to be a circle. It could be an arc, a radius on something. So right now that is depicting that is the center of that arc. Get them memorized. Go through all the examples in the book. I'm just kind of going through these to hopefully clarify anything that the book may not have explained very well for you. Go through the examples. Look at the prints. All right. Next is dimension and extension lines. They kind of go hand in hand. So for example, if I just have just a square plate like this, and I want to dimension it, I usually use extension lines. Extension lines are the ones coming off. Like that. You notice there is a little bit of a break in between here. So if that line was connected to that object, that would be part of that object. There has to be a little bit of a break in there to depict that is an extension line. These are used a lot on prints to dimension, and they can be as long as you want. Your dimension line, let's say that was 4 inches. Your dimension line goes between those two extension lines, telling you the dimension of it. Another example. You may see them. I'm going to use one that uses a little bit longer. Let's say our plate is shaped like that. Extension line. Now my extension line can go all the way down. Notice there's a break. 4 inches. Another way to show this, we can use them extension lines to do multiple dimensions. Here's another extension line here. Let's say this is 2 inches. Overall length of that object is 4. So your extension line can be used multiple different ways. But that's what it is. They're used to dimension prints or extend a line out to give you an actual measurement. So, any confusion with that, like I said, contact your instructor and he'll definitely go through it. Alright, next is what they call a leader line. A leader line goes directly to what it wants to reference. What it wants to reference. It can be used on weld symbols. You should have already had your weld symbol competency. So you should be familiar with leader lines. So let's say if there's a circle in here, there could be a leader line coming down. Let's say a diameter 3 inches. So that leader line is pointing right to that circle, telling you that that circle has a diameter of 3 inches. That's all it does. It's pointing to a direct spot on that print. Just like in weld symbols, it's telling you exactly where to go, where to reference. So that's what a leader line does. The next one is a little more complicated. Cutting plane line. And why we use a cutting plane line, because a lot of times there's internal parts of that object we can't see, and we need more clarification. It might be hard on a print to show it in a different view or whatever it may be. So a cutting plane line, basically what it does, it cuts that object in half. So whenever you see a line like that with the two arrows going out, that is telling me that it is a cutting plane line. So what are we doing? A good way to explain it is, let's say we take this part, we cut it in a bandsaw. We take it right over, we cut it in a bandsaw right here. So the arrows are going to determine what view we're looking at. So basically what happens here is, this whole bottom half of this object is erased, and we rotate it because we want to look at this side of the object pointing up. So we want to look at this view, and it's going to rotate it. That's what it's doing. But this is where it's getting cut. That's what that cutting plane line is used to do. Cutting plane lines, basically what they're doing is telling you there's a section view. Section views are used to show internal features that we can't get on the print, or we need more clarification in a certain area of the print. So basically we cut the whole bottom half off and we're rotating it. So for example, that would look like this. I'm going to draw it underneath so you can see a little better. Here's our plate. Here's our circle. We took it like this, turned it sideways, flipped it. So that the arrows are telling us what direction to look. This goes into our next line, section lines. Section lines, like I said, that's a solid part. So for example, when we put this in the bandsaw, we cut it right here. It didn't cut that circle because it was already hollow. We cut it right here. That's what those section lines are telling us. So for example, if there's usually letters or numbers there, AA, this would be section view AA. The section lines tells me where the saw actually hit as it cut that object in half. You notice these are not section lined in the middle? That's because the saw didn't hit anything here. So cutting plane lines and section lines is basically you're cutting that object in a certain spot and you're rotating that image to see what's inside of there. Used a lot. Don't get too wrapped up in the section views right now, because chapter 5 will get in great detail section views and a lot of examples, a lot of videos. Usually this is one of the most complicated parts of the course, is understanding the section view. So, next is brake lines. Brake lines, what they do, for example, like this ruler. This ruler is 3 feet long, or this piece of material is 3 feet long. It's the same all the way through. So instead of drawing that whole length, they might draw it like this. And there will be a brake line in here. There's no need to show this object full length. A lot of times if you're dealing with like I-beams or long tubing, 40, 50, 200 feet long, there's no need to show that whole length of that object because it's the same. So basically what they're doing is they're taking and shortening it. That brake line tells me, okay, this part is longer than it actually is represented on the print. But there's no need to draw it because it's basically that object is the same all the way. So basically you're cutting out a part of that object that is the same. Those are brake lines. So basically it breaks it down, shortens it up on the print, It represents the same thing because this object is the same. It doesn't matter how long. This could be 300 feet long. But there's no need to show all 300 feet. We might need only 8 inches to show you what that object is representing. Short break lines, they're kind of like a cutting plane line. For example, let's say if we have this object, there's a circle, there's a hole and a countersink hole. There might be a little break line. They're usually jagged. So what they're doing is they're taking that little jagged part out so you can see inside. Short break lines are usually used to show detail of an object. If you look in the example in the book, they have a little break line right there. So basically what they're doing is they broke that object there. They're removing that. And typically there are section lines in there. So it's giving us a detailed view of that hole right now. It might be only on one little part of the print. It might be a multiple prints, so them little break lines. So right now, basically, we broke that object right there. We removed the top so we can see inside of what's going on. Phantom lines, they're used to show motion. If that object moves. Let's just take a piece of flat, drill a hole in it. So here's our piece of flat. Let's draw it a little more. It shows movement. Let's say that object only rotates one direction. Like that. So what is that showing you? So take this eraser, put a hole in it. That's telling me that the eraser rotates 90 degrees. That's what phantom lines show. They show you if that object moves. A lot of your stuff that you're going to be making in the future, and even in this class and further on in the prints, a moving object. So basically, this eraser moves 180 degrees, stops, and it's only in one direction. That's all it's doing. So that's what them phantom lines are showing you, that that object actually moves. So, as you're going through chapter 4, hammer on page 51, go through all the prints, go through the examples that the prints are giving you. And if you have any questions, make sure you contact your instructor. This whole unit is just about lines. We're not getting into different views or anything yet. Chapter 5, we'll start breaking down the different types of views and some more stuff on the print. Don't get alarmed of some of the prints in here. They're not that complicated, but all they are is examples of lines. So look at those prints, go through the examples of the lines, do the chapter review at the end of chapter 4, and go from there. And at any point in time, if you have any questions, make sure you contact your instructor.